everyone, this is Brittany here with your art fill of the week, and this week I am doing another book customization with one of my book of the month books that I decided to make look a little prettier. This book is called What the River Knows. It mostly takes place in Egypt. This young girl named Olivera, her parents were very, very famous archaeologists and like artifact hunters. They mysteriously die, and she goes to figure out what happened to them, basically. And there's a tiny bit of a cute romance, a young love type romance in this book, and otherwise it mostly has to do with figuring out what happened to her parents. And there's also a magical aspect to it. I don't want to give away too much, but I really enjoyed this book, especially if you're someone who enjoys Egyptian archaeology type stuff and just different cultural aspects, like with the Egyptian gods and stuff like that. And just kind of like it almost has a mystery thriller aspect to it, because there's a lot of things Olivera doesn't understand, and she sort of figures out a few things, but then the ending actually ends in like a big plot twist. So I'm excited because the second book of this series comes out in November, and so that's one of my highly anticipated books this year. So here I'm just trying to match out and make the base of the book all black so that when I put paint over it, it all blends together. This time, if you've seen my previous book painting videos, I paint the entire front cover, but this one I decided just to do the edging of it. And I did eventually run into, I don't know if in the past I just didn't paint the spine, but this time I did decide to paint the spine, and because they do like the gold embossing on the side instead of just like printing the letters, I had to kind of paint over the gold, and then there's still those indents in the side. Yeah, here you'll see I'm like sponging it on so that it gets all the creases and stuff. But next time I think I'll plan to I did almost a paper mache version of a book before, and I think that's why I didn't run into this issue. And I think maybe from now on I may have to do just like a piece of paper or something over it if I want that smooth spine. But by the end it worked out fine. It turned out the way I wanted it to. But I'm not going to be too long-winded in this video. I'll pop in every once in a while to make commentary on just steps I took and things, but otherwise it'll be mostly music, so I hope you'll work along with me and see how I decorate this book. So as you can see, I painted all the pages yellow, and now I'm going in with some hieroglyphic lettering on the edge pages. And I decided, because if you look up the hieroglyphic alphabet, there's a lot, like I had a big decision to make of what I felt comfortable painting on the spine, what made sense to paint on the edge, but I went with the word river since it's what the river knows, and I figured that was good enough to be able to fit the entire word on the side. And the hieroglyphics themselves weren't going to be overly complicated for me to paint, so I went with river. So that's here, me painting out river. The only letter that's a little bit more complex is the V, which it seems to be a snake, is what I got from it. So this is me painting that little snake. I didn't get it perfectly, but I kind of eyeballed it looking at the image and freehanding it. You could, and I could have done a stencil. I just didn't want to take the time to do that when I felt pretty confident that I could freehand it successfully. But if you are wanting to do something like this yourself, I do have a very, very, very old stenciling video that I made that I haven't taken down because people are still watching it, and it's still will still help you make your own stencil without having like a fancy Cricut machine or whatever those fancy machines are now that create stencils for you, like the sticker stencils. But so it will still hold up if you want to go watch that video and make your own stencil. But so I then went to making just designs to kind of match what the front cover of the book already is, with just that decorative design. And here I decided to add in one more color and use like a maroon reddish pink to add another line in my design. And also I thought it would look nice to fill in those empty spaces in the hieroglyphics with it and just make those stand out a little bit more, instead of just leaving that yellow. And I'm pretty happy with how the colors turned out on that. And here is, I don't show you the complete thing, but you have to pull the pages apart after you're done with this and everything's dry. So page by page you go through and push them apart. The process actually isn't that hard. It just is time consuming because you have to very lightly pull apart, go through each page and pull them away from the other page carefully so that you're not ripping the pages. But it's really not that hard. It's just time consuming, so you just put a TV show on while you do it, kind of thing, which is why I didn't show the entire process in this video. I went and watched something else while I was doing it. And here is the very front cover. I decided to make kind of like an obelisk or like a Egyptian tomb type thing because they spend a lot of time searching these tombs for a specific artifact in this book. I'm trying not to spoil too much and tell you all the things about this book, because if it sounds interesting to you, I want you to pick it up yourself. So this is me just trying to get that like a more realistic stone texture and stuff. I did use reference pictures to look at different like Egyptian walls and stuff. So this is me just freehanding my little building and creating shading and shadows and stuff for the front. I thought just the building looked a little bit bare, and I decided to add some palm trees in the background, especially because the front cover has kind of a palm tree type design on it. I didn't copy that design because I wanted to do my own thing and not fully copy the original cover. And this is the part where I'm adding in the same river hieroglyphics to this little obelisk in front of a little building or tomb. This is that little snake, trying to do the snake free-handed. I think I did better at him on the obelisk than I did on the side page. But I guess it's the practice. I did him once, so the second one was better than the first one. And here I'm just adding more of a rocky texture to those walls, adding some shadows, and I add a tiny bit of highlight to them, but they kind of already have that highlight from me mixing the paint on it before. And then I add some shadow to the actual hieroglyphics to make them look like they're engraved into that obelisk. And I thought it just needed one more thing, and so I added a river to the bottom part of this scene because it lacked something. So I figured, well, it's what the river knows. Add an actual river to our little scenery, our landscape here. on to the side where I'm going to paint the lettering for the title. I decided to go with my original green and that reddish pink color and do some designs on this side. And then I go in and try to do kind of not fully papyrus type lettering, but that was the thought in my head, to keep it more like straight and blocky when I was doing these letters. And I didn't realize till later I probably should have started from the opposite end that I started from of the book, because it's kind of like backwards from what a normal book would be printed, but I guess that makes my copy extra special. So I just go through and I freehand these letters. This is another thing you could totally make a stencil for, but I just I trust myself maybe a little bit too much to just freehand a lot of things. One more color, that yellow, into the design on the side to make everything a little more cohesive. And I'll show you the completed book, and I hope you enjoyed this book painting video. I do have other videos if you guys haven't seen those yet that I will link. And please like this video if you really enjoyed watching me customize my book, and subscribe for more art videos like this one and other art projects that I do. And thank you so much for joining me in this video and watching.